We'll talk about those leaks now with Congressman Mike Turner, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican congressman from the state of Ohio. Chairman, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us today.
Sumi, thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, so I want to start with what we heard from the White House today. The national security spokesperson, John Kirby, saying they don't know how the documents found their way into the public domain. What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you this, is that if this has been a leak, it is criminal and is certainly espionage if it came from an American source. And the Department of Justice will be undertaking an investigation to locate that source. This is not a bureaucratic, protest issue. This is actually a criminal act if it occurred from an American source. And that individual will be located and they will be held accountable. This certainly is unfortunate. Luckily, the administration, both and Israel, have indicated this would not affect operations, but it certainly does indicate the high stakes of the level of information that is shared and that is discussed of what is occurring in the Middle East.
So just to follow up, there is a possibility that this could be a hack by a foreign entity.
Well, there is some discussion is that may be the case. What I'm responding to is that if this is a leak, and certainly there's been enough conjecture, I think, that leads us to lean toward that this could be a leak, that this would be a criminal matter and that this would be a criminal matter of espionage.
You said that Israel said it wouldn't impact, the relationship and security relationship going forward. But can you give us a sense of how significant the material is that was leaked?
Well, I think, any leak is certainly concerning because you don't know, regardless of the materials that you see, you don't know what other materials may be out there. And obviously, there are very high stakes in what's going on in the Middle East right now as the United States tries to aid Israel. And as you just heard from your prior interviewer, and Hezbollah, by the way, as you did a great job in pushing that interview. Hezbollah is an illegitimate terrorist organization that occupies Lebanon and continues to attack Israel. It's unfortunate that the people continue to legitimize them as we all know, they're a proxy of Iran that continues to destabilize the area. As that area is destabilized and Iran itself is now attacking Israel, Israel has to defend itself and, of course, will be answering those direct attacks from Iran.
So President Biden has said he does not want to see Israel retaliate with strikes on oil or nuclear sites in Iran. To this point, we don't know exactly what Israel's retaliation would be, but what do you think would be appropriate from your perspective?
Well, first off, I think it's incredibly unfortunate that President Biden continues to run around and say what people should not do. I think if Iran attacks Israel, in doing so, they should be fearful that all of their assets and all of their sites might be subject to attacks. Now, I think that certainly Israel, in looking to what they're going to attack at Iran, should look at things that could diminish overall Iran's capabilities to continue to attack Israel. And certainly those could be some sites that have co-threats to what we're seeing in their support from Russia and what we're seeing unfold on the battlefields in Ukraine. Iran has a number of vulnerabilities, including their nuclear weapons sites and including their energy productions that Iran should be fearful as it continues to directly attack Iran.
Chairman, I do want to ask you a question about Ukraine. We've spoken, the two of us, many times on this program about Ukraine in the past, and you sent a letter to President Biden about reports from Ukrainian President Zelensky that thousands of North Korean troops are ready to fight in Ukraine. What do we actually know about these troop movements, and what do you want to see the administration do here?
I have been talking to the intelligence community and demanding briefings on this. What I think is very concerning, though, on the public side, is we have President Zelensky calling for the West for assurances that North Korean troops, if they entered, that he would have additional support from the West, is the silence that we're hearing from the administration. This should be a red line to this administration, and I think that they're sleepwalking into a widening of this conflict. As the president continues his goodbye tour, he ought to be thinking about how this is unfolding.
What would that look like?
This should be a red line.
What would that look like?
This should be a red line. Well, first off, I don't think that President Biden should have a restriction on the use of Ukrainian weapons for long range into Russian territory where Russian territory is directly attacking Ukraine. But he certainly, even though he has that restriction, he certainly shouldn't apply that restriction to North Korean troops. If North Korean troops set up in Russia and begin to attack Ukraine, Ukraine should not be prevented from attacking back using U.S. weapons. And then if North Korean troops actually march into Ukraine, I think that NATO and the United States ought to look directly at whether or not those troops are engaged, because we should not, as the United States and NATO, stand back and let North Korean troops invade a European country. And certainly a red line would discourage them from doing so and communicate to Russia that this is not going to be tolerated.
We have to leave it there for today, Chairman, but thank you as always for joining us on BBC News.
Sumi, thank you.